there was just 1 week where I was like, man, I feel pretty good. I'm gonna pick it up a little bit this week and see if there's a different gear. There's a different gear of just going in and wrestling and, having that intensity level, what it takes, to be competitive at that, the competition side of things. And I felt pretty good. And then I just talked to the guys and said, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What do you think? And everyone was really excited about it. And from that point, just though my full-time responsibilities as a coach, I didn't want those things to be sacrificed. So just keeping it internal, because a lot of things could have deterred it, and we got closer, and every day was a day to come in, and I was like, if I feel like I don't want to train at this level today, and when I say train is relative, it's just I just did the workouts with the guys, and they got to kind of see a different level from me, and it raised their level. All the guys that I was wrestling, Dustin, DJ, Cody, Kyle, Wyatt, Connor, Braden, their level started to increase. And once I said, hey, I'm thinking about wrestling, they showed a different level when they came in. When we're doing our circuits, these guys they're hitting we have some big numbers that we're hitting in our circuits right now, with our Aerodyne and our Versa Climber, and a lot of that was, all right, well, I'm going to set a number high, and these guys are trying to, reach it, and maybe they're reaching a number that they didn't think they could do, and now they're surpassing it, so it's just creating this really cool environment. And I think that was what has been the most beneficial about this process and unique. Nothing I did was different than what they're doing, and that's what we talked about when coming here, is we want to wrestle with the guys, and we're not going to ask them to do anything that we're not doing. And and then I was able to get to a level or perform pretty well over the weekend. So it's it's been a lot of fun. Definitely brought a lot more enjoyment to the competition side of things than what it had been for me. And it's really a testament to the guys, and their work ethic, and they really kind of inspired it.
David, you talked about how it kind of brought a little bit more joy to the competitive side than it had. Why do you think that is?
Just monotonous. I've been at this level for a really long time. I achieved everything I wanted, and after Tokyo, it was really hard to stay motivated for another 3 years. And I think in that process, I started to get away with doing less and less. So obviously really good at wrestling still, but just wasn't really enjoying the training side of things. And was able to kind of get away with less and still pick it up when I needed to. And looking back, that probably caught up to me this year, but in preparation for the Olympic trials. But that's just how life works, and create the opportunity for me to be down here, and I'm so grateful for that. If things go different at the Olympic trials, I'm not here. I'm not sitting in front of you guys. I don't get the opportunity to impact the kids and train these guys and be with them. So the move was a good move. So I think things work out the way that they do, but then when you step away from it, it gives you different perspective coming into practice. And it just created like an energy and excitement that I hadn't felt that in 4 years. And sitting and talking to guys, you're talking about, when you have that fire to do something, it's such a small window in wrestling, and I started to feel that again. So, shoot, if I have it, I think this is a really good opportunity for OSU wrestling. It's a great opportunity for RTC to be competing in a world championship. So it just kind of happened, pretty naturally.
Have you decided if you're going to wrestle in October?
So I got back, and I haven't really had a chance to talk to the team yet about it. But I did talk to administration. They're supportive about it. We have things, obviously, that we got to work through, and making sure everything is in place. But it's a decision that we'll make. But I think to go to the World Championships this year, it's in 6 weeks. There are some exciting opponents that I could get a chance to wrestle, but to go just would need a little bit more preparation than what I had, going into the trials. So just kind of talking through what that looks like, and we'll make a decision pretty soon.
Was it a difficult decision at all, just considering that you'd taken a break from competition?
Difficult because just making sure you're doing it for the right reasons. It's definitely easy to look at the Olympics and watch the Olympics and feel like, oh man, I kind of want to wrestle again. But that's not why you should wrestle again. You wrestle again because you want to. Wrestling is super hard. It's really difficult to train. It's difficult to get to that shape. To wrestle the way that I want to wrestle, or that I would want to step out there and wrestle, that's just not an easy thing to do. You got to really want to be there. So yeah, that part in my mind was hard. That was that part that I had a hard time with over the last 3 years, is like getting your mind ready to like come into practice and really want to put forth like that next level effort to get into shape that needs to take the extra shots, to do that kind of stuff. So that part was pretty easy because I was excited to be there with the guys. I weighed with it in my mind, just making sure it was right. It was the correct decision and doing it for the right reasons. And that that was up into and through the tournament. Even during the tournament, there were times just questioning like, is this right for me to be here? Which is a different feeling. Obviously, you never really felt that before, but at the end of it, I feel like it was the right decision to compete. I think people really enjoyed it. I think it was good for our program.
When you had those thoughts come up during the tournament of like, is this the right thing? What did you sort of hear in your own head that sort of reaffirmed you were in the right spot?
Well, I just think in wrestling, it can come down to it's just really, like we talked to the guys, like it can be really hard or it can be really easy. It just depends on what you're telling yourself in your mind. And I think this process of adversity on just this purely competition side, of being at the level I was and falling short of a goal, and then getting re-energized and being able to go back and wrestle the way you want to, that's just wrestling at any level. You're a kid, you go through that. In high school, you go through that. In college, these guys are going to go through that during the season. And for the ones that have the aspirations to wrestle afterwards internationally, you're going to go through that. And I think my career has been historically a lot of winning, and to be able to kind of go through both of that a little bit this year, I think it's going to help me give perspective to the other side, because winning is not going to win every time you step on the mat. So I think in your mind, you just got to make up your decision. Why? You got to want to be there. You got to want to do it, and just remind myself, like, I made the decision to be here. Well, and I told myself I'm here because I don't want to just win. I want to wrestle, the way that I've wrestled my whole life, and I want to wrestle a way as an example of what we're going to do at OSU. And I think I struggled with that a little bit towards the end of the first day. Just, it's a long day. I haven't wrestled 4 matches in a day in quite a long time, or knowing that I'm going to have to wrestle 6 matches over 2 days. So I think at the end of the first day, I just kind of started to get a little tired, a little complacent, and in that match, lost a little presence. I was able to obviously refocus in day 2, and in the second match, knowing like, all right, this is it. I can really go out and wrestle hard, and I think left a lasting impact on wrestling domestically, finishing that way. Just the way that I've competed my whole life, finishing that way was pretty cool.
Do you feel like taking that break and then obviously seeing the opportunity to wrestle again, that make you appreciate competition anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you love to compete. I don't love to compete like I used to. I think that was probably the biggest thing, while I was there. When you're training, I feel pretty good, and people were asking like, what does this look like for you? And this was all about just competing the way that the selfish side of it was to compete the way I wanted to. I was able to do that, but I definitely don't have that love to compete like that anymore. I think that was clear when I wrestled. It's like, it was times where I just felt a lot of, I just felt there's more to it. It's not just about me, it's about, I think about the program, I think about the guys, think about the things I say to the guys of how we're going to wrestle, and then, when you tell guys, this is what we're going to do and this is where I'm going, you better go out and do it that way, or it's kind of a waste of time. So there's this different level of expectation that I had on myself, and, feeling like, way I want to represent this program and the university too. So definitely a different feeling, obviously than what it's like when you're just competing for yourself. But I think it gave me a little more of a purpose, when I had some doubts in my mind, to make sure that I was digging deep and finishing strong, I guess.
What did some of the reactions from the team and Chad, what did that look like whenever you told them you wanted to compete again?
Excited. When I sat down in my first interview here, when we sat down with just, they thought I was going to continue wrestling, and at that point in time, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm definitely done. But they were obviously supportive at that point in time, and I think as time went on, and when I did share with them that I was thinking about going, I mean, it's just a lot of support, excitement. Like, man, this is great for Oklahoma State. They're kind of questioning. They were like, well, man, if you want to do it, you should definitely do it. I can't believe you want to go do that, And I was like, well, I know, I guess I am a little crazy, but I just assured them, like, hey, nothing's going to change. I'm not going to miss any of my responsibilities. And I think internally, like, it wasn't something I was broadcasting. It was really important to make sure that wasn't like a production, or because it wasn't about me. It was just about to go out and just compete one more time, So I don't think anyone internally here would even know that I was doing it. I fulfilled all my obligations to the best of my ability, and not that all my obligations are things that I want to be doing so we can have a successful program. Like, that's primary. This was just a secondary thing. So I think overall, yeah, they were really supportive. And the team, when I talked to them about it, I just said, hey, you all tell me what right now. This is like what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about wrestling, and everybody was like, man, that's exciting. That's inspiring. Excited for you to wrestle. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And they were supportive. Like, when we were wrestling and in preparation, I definitely, like I said, it brought another level out for them. Brought a little bit more level out for me. So overall, just really elevated the room and the program.
How important was that for you, just to maybe solidify that this was a good decision, that the guys were both excited for you, but also that you saw maybe a better intensity out of them?
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't want me to do it, I wasn't going to do it. If they're like, nah, coach, that's not right, you shouldn't be doing it, then yeah, I would have done it. But it's what they're aspiring to do. They're aspiring to compete at that level, and so I think for them to get to see that, it's like tangible, and for them, I just tell, like, it's all the drills and all the techniques that we're working on in practice, that's what I was out doing. So they got to see at that level, I think it gives them confidence, like, oh, okay, it does work at that level. That's no different than the drill. And I think coming back this week, even in the last couple of days of practice, like going back over those things, it just looks like a different level, a different energy, even more of excitement, more of a buy-in. Like, this is going to work, So I think that was good. And then, yeah, to see a different level from them, like maybe when you're a coach and you're whooping their butts, like sometimes we talk about, hey, you can't let it snowball. Like, if I'm going to pick it up, you have to pick it up and match that pace. You have to. You got to learn to do that. But then when it was more of like a competition to them, they started to do it better. They started to do it better. It can be overwhelming. Hey, we're doing a longer go today, and they know, like, every score matters, and as I score more, it's like it's a little harder in your mind to know there's not like an end to the go for a little bit of time. But when it's more of a specific, hey, this is a 3-minute go, this is a 6-minute go, it's a 5-minute go, and they have a term on it in their mind, they focused more, and they were excited, and it was challenging. Trent, that part was challenging, and they helped me prepare, but in return, like, it's helping them prepare, so I think that's, we talk about the RTC, I mean, it was just an extension of the RTC, and that's what they got to see during this period of time, which I thought was pretty good.
Did you get a lot of texts from the guys over the weekend, or did they, like, when you got back, did they, like, clap? I don't know, what was the response like from the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were excited, they're saying good luck. I just didn't want to make it, I just came to practice every day, like, this is practice. This is, I'm just going to jump in. I'm doing workouts with you guys, and the times that if I trained in the morning, more specific freestyle, I was there in the afternoon running the practice or walking around and helping the guys, or, wrestling with them, whatever they needed. So it didn't change. I think they would probably respect that. So I think going into it, yeah, they were excited. I mean, I think they wanted me to do well, for sure. I think it's a cool thing for them to see. And then when I got back, they were excited. It was cool to see that on Monday.
How do you feel like this could, you talked about this in the press release when OSU announced it, but looking forward, how could, competing like this and having not just you, but Dayton and the other guys be successful, how could this affect the brand and recruiting and just general momentum of the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Dayton had a great preparation. I mean, he looked really good in preparing, and I think, just at that level, sometimes it's just small little things, and, he lost right at the end of that match to a guy who was right there in the finals. So, I mean, you're talking about, at 61 kilos, you're talking about 3 or 4 of the guys that are top 5, 6 in the world, so the margin there is pretty small, but I think he felt good about his preparation, and but I just think it's, from now, moving forward, it's just Oklahoma State. It's a destination. This is a wrestling destination. Like, you want to be the best in the country. You want to be the best in the world. Like, this is a destination that you're going to seek out and come to. And I think that's what we're building. That's what we're working on every single day. Does it happen immediately? Does it happen in 6 months? Does it happen in a year or 2 years? It does take some time, but I think we're you've got to look back. We've only been here for 4 months, so I think a lot has moved in that direction in 4 months, and it'll continue to move forward. So I think all this training, competing, just our program, where we're at right now, it's all been really good, and this is a destination that people are going to seek out.
So you mentioned those guys finding another level training alongside you and working out with you. So do you feel like if you do make the decision to go ahead and compete at Worlds and you're training, you're doing the same thing again for the next 6 weeks, that they'll continue to kind of raise another level? And with that, is there any sort of negatives, I guess, that you see if you do decide to go ahead and compete in the 6 weeks?
Well, that's what I'm weighing in my mind. It just has to be right, because there's the season's coming up. That's primary. I think time wise it works. We have recruiting weekends. We're sandwiched right between the World Championships, right before and right after. So looking at travel. So those are all the things I'm thinking about. And if I am going to go and wrestle at that level, there's 3 other world champions, right? You got the Kazakhstan kid that won last year. Gassimport from Iran's a 2-time world champion, and Sedgelayev is rumored to be going. So that's not a field that you can just show up in and hope to do well. It's going to take a little bit more preparation. So just making sure that can I balance it all? Can I help the team still? Can I prepare to that level? Because if I'm going to go, I want to win. I don't want to just go show up, So I think it's just got to weigh all those things, make sure it all makes sense. But, we have all the pieces in place to do that here. We got to continue to figure that out. Should know here soon.
John Smith won his last Olympic gold medal in '92. He was the interim head coach. Kind of fairly similar situation what you're in right now. Have you bounced this off him at all and asked his advice, his thoughts, whatever?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Coach Smith he's been awesome. Just in the time that I've been here, and definitely super supportive. And he just sent me a text before I wrestled. He's like, good luck, go win. And I was talking to him a little bit after I finished, and they said he was watching me wrestle, and he was coaching me through the phone, as during my matches. So I think it's just really cool. I think he's enjoyed it, and I think he can relate. There's a lot of parallels in our careers. A lot of parallels. I think we have a lot of parallels in our personalities. I think to be so competitive at that level, obviously, you're wired a little different. So I think there's a lot of similarities there. But yeah, definitely just talking with him and getting his advice.
Those parallels, is that something you've always known was there between you and John, or something you've just kind of realized in the last couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't know Coach Smith too well. I was on a recruiting visit here 15 years ago, and haven't really had a ton of interactions with him, but I think in being down here and just hearing about him and just to understand more about him and the program and things that he did well and the things that he had challenges in, or I think we have similar things in that. So but I think ultimately we both were just fierce competitors, you know, and you know, with that, you just have a little different wire, you know. So but it's good. He was obviously his success here was awesome, and you know, I hope to have, you know, some more success as he did.
What's the last 4 or 5 months been like since you got here?
Fun, you know, exciting. I mean, I've been wrestling for a long time, you know. I started wrestling when I was 5, and I was winning at the highest level when I was 8, you know. So you just, that part of it starts to get monotonous, you know. But now it's like you're competing at the highest level, but it's just different. And you know, I just think I just wake up every day and I'm excited to get to work. I'm excited to come in here and spend time with the staff and work out with the guys and train. I mean, I remember thinking in my mind, like, because to train to be best in the world, I mean, that training's pretty difficult. And I remember being like, man, when I am done with this, I'm not gonna train like this anymore, you know. And then then I found myself getting here, and I was actually training a lot more and a lot harder. Training as in, like, I just categorize training as wrestling, you know, or doing the lifts or doing the circuits. Those things aren't really, you know, when you're done competing, you don't, I just always thought I wouldn't want to do that stuff. And there I found myself doing it more, you know, with more love and passion, that I just was very surprising to me. You know, I just thought, you know, once I was done doing it from my jobs, competing side, I wouldn't want to do that stuff anymore. Because it's different. You just do it because you're trying to set the example. You know, it's like if I'm dogging it in a circuit, well, I can't get on this guy for dogging it in the circuit. I get to push it. I got to be the example. You know, this is the number we're getting. Get the number. This is the number that I'm getting. You know, this is the number our coaches are getting. So there's no reason that you guys should be getting. You should be surpassing this stuff. You know, and then, so I think that part of it is, which is cool. That was a surprise to me, and just learning all the different aspects to coaching and just the impact that you can have, communicating with people, being honest with people. You know, I think a lot of coaches are a little removed from the roster. You know, head coaches are doing a lot of other things, and there's a lot of stuff on my plate. But you know, the highlight of my day is practice. You know, and being able to come into practice and spend time with guys and just get to work with them all the time. And we got a lot of areas that we got to get better at wrestling, and just that's where our focus is.
What are some of the specific things you've learned? Just about yourself or coaching or this team?
I mean, the team is very hungry to learn. You know, it's just like there's just a lot of really good kids that come into practice and they're excited to get better at wrestling. And it makes your job as a coach really enjoyable. You know, so I think that's cool. I mean, even got a guy like, you know, I spent a lot of time with Dustin, you know, over the last, you know, couple of weeks in preparing. Came with me to Omaha as my partner, and just to be a guy like that, you know, he's still approaching the sport like he's got so much to learn. You know, you could take guys as national finalists, and he could just be like, well, I'm just maybe resistant to change. I mean, there's not a thing that you say to Dustin that he's not instantly trying to implement. Instantly. You know, so from a training stuff and from a learning things, like if it's a feel or example, or I tell him one time, he's doing it. You know, and I think that's really awesome. And that's just, and he's definitely a leader on the team. And I think the team is like that as well. And so I just think it's you know, you go through the whole lineup and you start talking about individuals, you leave people out, but you know, it's been a really enjoyable process with Dustin, and I think a lot of the team has a very similar mentality, which just makes coaching a lot of fun.
Do you feel like your lineup, you've gotten a couple of guys, you know, from the portal, a couple of newer faces? I mean, a lot of them are newer to you, but how do you feel about your lineup, you know, on September 18th?
What about it?
So how do you feel about where they're at until time before season starts?
I'm excited. I mean, the thing about wrestling is you can lay out a plan for somebody, and you know, but wrestling is up to the individual. You know, how hard do you want to work? You know, how much do you want to buy into the technique, the mindset, the mentality? We're going to give you the tools and the framework. We've gone through the trial and error process. These are the techniques that you're going to be successful with. This is the mindsets that are required to be successful with. It's up to the individual, you know. But I think they've done a really good job, and You know, we have some spots that have more competition than others. But I think overall, guys have done a really good job of preparing and, you know, focused. I mean, I think they trained really hard this summer, but it gives us the ability now that we can really start focusing. We've laid a really good foundation, so we can really dial in on some specific situational wrestling and techniques right now, and just continue to build, you know, into November, and obviously just with the main goal of getting ready for March to be national champions.
Going back to the RTC, you know, getting that staff together, just how do you feel about it, and how do you feel like it can impact your program moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, the RTC it's essential just to have people of that caliber training every day. It's inspiration, you know, like in the room right now on the college team, like they don't know what it's like to be a national champion. They haven't done it yet. They don't know what it's like to be part of a team title because they haven't done it yet. They don't know what it's like to be a world champion or Olympic champion. So when you have people in the room that have done that, it's tangible. You can ask, what was it like when you're preparing for the national finals? What was it like when you're getting ready for an Olympic gold medal match? What is it like when you wrestled at the Olympics or whatever it is? Like, well, now you know someone can do that, and I think this program, Oklahoma State, has always had that. It's always had people have done that at that level, which is why it's had the tradition and the success that it's had. But I think the RTC it's just people they're close in age, and they can see it, they can feel it, they can wrestle it, they can make the adjustments real time, and you know, as it grows, you know, obviously it's a place for our wrestlers to feel like they can continue to train and reach those goals, the ones that want to do that, and you know, I just think it's just that being around it, I just think it just raises your level.
What did
Is that what Roman adds to the room, and what kind of went into his decision to come to work?
Yeah, so you know, Roman wrestled in the Olympics, and you know, I think he just didn't have the performance that he wanted, and him and Thomas had a really close relationship. They trained a lot. You know, Thomas had, you know, Thomas was such an awesome competitor because his impact was always like, man, I want to train these guys, and I want them to be able to beat me when I'm done. You know, that was kind of like his mentality. Like, I want to, you know, I'm going to wrestle with them. I'm going to help them, because it's only if they get better, it's only going to make me better. You know, and I think that was a relationship that him and Roman had. I mean, they wrestled so hard together. You know, he definitely helped Roman, and you know, Roman helped Thomas. So I think they had a tight relationship. And you know, when Roman didn't have the Olympics that he wanted, he reached out to Thomas and said, "Hey, what am I missing?" You know, like I think you know, basically. And he felt that this is a place that he could get better. You know, and I think that's awesome. It's really hard to make a change like that. It is. It's really hard. And he's excited to be down here, and you know, and now we're laying out a plan for him. You know, like what's it look like? So it's fun now. We're pivoting and looking at an RTC plan. You know, moving forward for those guys, and you know, Roman needs matches. He needs matches, and so does Dayton. You know, I think they need 20, 25 matches, and we need to find that for them. Lay out a plan for them. You know, and I think that experience will go a long way. Because in that process, you're going to win matches, you're going to lose matches, you're going to be in criteria, you're going to be down by 2 takedowns, be up by 2 takedowns. Like, that's the best feel. That's the most realistic thing. You know, you're overseas, you're not getting the best calls, whatever it may be. Like, you just need those matches, and laying that out for them, I think, is going to be big in their progression moving forward.
You've been wearing OSU gear for however many months now, but did it feel strange at all putting on that RTC singlet, and what you kind of think whenever you saw yourself in it for the first time?
I liked it. I thought orange looked good on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was nice. Nike made those new shoes, those new orange shoes. You know, it was pretty fun. You know, I've been down here for a short period of time, but I take a lot of pride, you know, in the program and what it represents. You know, so it's an honor. Like, orange is a color that you know, you should earn the right to wear, and it's not just a given thing. You know, so it's yeah, I had a lot of pride, a lot of tradition comes with those colors, and you know, it's just excited to be able to represent the university and the people that had done it before me, you know, and now to be a part of that.
Did Thomas consider competing at all?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, Thomas trains like a madman. He's in great shape. You know, but it's just it's a difference between wrestling and training are definitely different. You know, and you know, if he wanted to train, he would be very successful at it. And I don't know. It'd be kind of one of those things. You know, what does he want to do? You know, we'll see. I guess.
You have a young staff, and obviously it's your first year. Do you guys feel like your benefit compared to other people is the fact that you're in competition, in competition shape, and you're able to scrap with those guys on a daily basis?
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, you hear this thing a lot in wrestling, you know, at every level. You know, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I just gotta get in a room with partners. You know, in high school, I just need partners, you know, and the kids seek that out. You know, in college, they seek that out. And the RTC is a lot of that. But what I think is most valuable about our staff is the success that we've had. You know, we're an extension of the RTC. We're young, we're training, obviously, at a very high level. It's the experience that we bring. You know, so it's like, yeah, we can wrestle at a high level, but it's going to take a lot, and it's going to take them a while before they can beat us. And when that day comes, they're ready. They're ready because that we bring an element of, you know, toughness, technique, skill, savvy, situational awareness at the World Championships. There's a lot that goes into that, you know. And I think you can just have good partners somewhere. You know, you can have good college partners, you can have good, you know, RTC partners, but how many RTC guys are competing at that level? Well, there's only 10 of them. There's only 10. There's only 4 going to the World Championships potentially, right? There's only you can have a whole squad of depth, but only one guy gets to represent it. You know, and our staff has done that and can still do that. So I think that experience in our youth is a huge advantage. And that's why we want to have a young staff that can wrestle and train. You know, our competitors or coaches are 45, 50 years old. And you can wrestle at a really high level. We're going to still be able to wrestle at a really high level at that age, but it's a different intensity level. You know, like we can still match that at the highest level. So I think that's huge. You know, for these kids that are part of this program, you know, over the next 6 to 10 years, you know, you're going to get the best versions of that from us. And there's a balance. Like you got to show them what that level is, and you got to build them up, you know. And I think it's a massive advantage for us, and I think it'll make a big difference.
Couple more guys. We're all good.
Do you feel, I don't know, did it take you a minute to get comfortable in this role, not just coaching these guys, but representing this university, or was it something that felt comfortable right away?
Yeah, I think I was put on this earth to do this, you know. I love wrestling. You know, before doing this, you know, I'd been developing talent at a high level for a long time. I've had a passion for helping people. You know, I have a business mindset. You know, so to sit down and talk about, I gotta get familiar with the university. I gotta get familiar with things. But in terms of leading this program, I think I was built to do this, and excited. You know, and I don't take it for granted. It's a big responsibility, but definitely excited. You know, for what's to come.
All good?